better, right?
What's going on, Yankees family? I'm your boy Gio, joined every week with my co-host Tyler. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, Gio?
Not too bad. Had a nice little vacation out in Philly with the fam. Yankees didn't do that well, but we'll get to that. Other than that, all is well.
Yeah, it's good to hear. That was a disappointing weekend for the Yankees, man. Yesterday's game was a heartbreaker.
Yeah, this weekend was kind of rough. You was expecting a lot more out of the Colorado series, and you was expecting that the Yankees can, with the worst team in the NL, they can start to propel themselves in the right direction. But before we get into too much business, let's take care of some housekeeping. If this is your first time watching the show, do us a favor, like and leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the Yankees, and please do not leave the video today without hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoy Yankees content, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. So to start the show, wasn't that much going on this week in regards to Yankees land. They had the All-Star game, then you had 4 days off. You had this first weekend series that we can recap. So let's start with the home run derby. Did you get the chance to watch the home run derby, Tyler?
I did watch the home run derby. It was quite entertaining, but starting to think they should maybe go back to the old format.
Yeah, I didn't like the everybody gets an extra 30-second thing, and Seattle was a ballpark that was a little tough for guys to get 440, to get that extra 30 minutes. And I feel like, no disrespect to everyone that actually performed at the All-Star or the home run derby this year, but I feel like it was a little, like weak in regards to like pure true home run hitters. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
I mean, I thought it was exciting. Just, yeah, you're talking about raw power. There was no Stanton or Judge, anybody
Yeah.
like that who's really going to challenge the depths of the ballpark. So it was a little bit different. And especially guys taking swing after swing after swing. The ball just doesn't go as far. And they just cut to the next pitch anyways, so you can't even admire it.
Yeah, that was what killed me. It was like the camera angles too. Like it was fun. Like we'll get into each round individually and talk about a couple things, but it was fun like when certain guys are starting to get like rolling, but it was really hard to follow what was a home run and what wasn't just with those angles. I actually had to flip to ESPN2 halfway through just to get a better just better gauge of what's going on, especially with all the stat casts, metrics and stuff like that. I don't know. It was weird just the camera angles this year.
Yeah, I just missed that one announcer, Chris B, who was like, back, 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 back.
Yeah. So first round was Luis Roberts versus Adley Rushman. Adley actually put out a representative performance for Baltimore. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I wasn't expecting him to do much. Just catchers usually have a harder time in the home run derby than normal. He did lose to Luis Roberts. It was 28-27. But your thoughts on the switch hitting catcher out of Baltimore?
So I was actually rooting for Adley out of the gate. I just wanted to see him win, switch hitting catcher. I think he has an amazing future ahead of him. But my second pick for the thing overall was Luis Robert. So he put on a show after him, but I did think it was super badass of Adley to switch around and start hitting from the right side in that like final round.
Yeah, that was cool.
The crowd got into it because he played at Oregon. So that was a really cool moment with his dad, but of course he went first, so Luis knew what he had to beat.
Yeah, that sucks, right? Usually you're at a disadvantage if you go first just because you don't know what your opponent's going to do, and then they have a better idea of what they have to accomplish to move on to the next round. I did love the switch, the him switching to the right side of the last 30 seconds. Him and the whole story between him and his father was amazing. That's something that every parent would love to go through with their child. So, quick round of applause for both participants. So Luis Roberts moved over to the next bracket. The next round was Garcia versus Rosarina, two best friends, both from Cuba, played together in the minor leagues, played together in Cuba. I was a little disappointed about Garcia's performance, but Randy kind of kept that energy up, and it was a good round in my opinion.
Yeah, some people had Garcia as their favorite going into it. I think he was leading the AL in home runs at the time. Actually, that was Robert. My bad. But after Randy showing in that round, I thought he was going to go all the way probably. But he got cut off by the winner, Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yes, he did. I loved Randy's, walk in with the freaking cowboy boots. He's like completely embracing like the whole Mexican culture, and like, he's saying F Cuba. They didn't want me. I'm a Mexican citizen now, so he's having fun with that. I love the story back and forth between Garcia and Rosarina. Being friends. Rosarina has Garcia as his kid's godfather, so it was a good, fun, entertaining round. They were giving this each other back and forth. Randy and Rosarina moved on to the next round, 24-17. A little disappointing, but Randy moves on to the next bracket. So that was what, the semifinals, right? They moving on to the semis. The next round was Mookie Betts versus Vlad. This was like the biggest mix match of the entire home run derby. I get it. Mookie wanted to experience everything once, so he entered into the home run derby. But this really wasn't Mookie's competition. He does have a lot of home runs, but that's usually because he's the leadoff hitter, and he's being sneaky, just chasing that first pitch fastball and, catching pitches off surprise. What do you thought about the round?
Yeah, he didn't really stand a chance. Laddie's probably got 150 pounds on him,
Yeah.
a few inches. And of course, he went on to win and had some experience before. So Mookie didn't even want to take a break. I think he was just trying to get done with it. And it was kind of weird that he wasn't taking a break. But I mean, even if he did, I didn't think it was going to make much of a difference.
No, that was an interesting strategy. They even said it on the broadcast. Interesting that he didn't stop and take the timeout. Yeah, he's in better shape than most of the hitters there. Mookie's more lean. He's more he uses his physical attributes more than his strength, and that's part of his game. We're very versatile, but I appreciate Mookie doing it once. He got that experience, but very one-sided. Vlad winning 26-11. Moving on to Pete Alonso versus Julio. Now, this was probably the best round out of the entire home run derby. I was not expecting Julio to come out as hot as he did. 41 home runs to start it. Then Pete Alonso knew what he had to do to come back, and that was kind of disappointing. I feel bad for Mets fans. It's been a rough season all year long, but give me your takes on the Alonso and Rodriguez series.
Yeah, that was a pretty epic round by J-Rod. I was very happy to see Pete Alonso get eliminated in the first round. I do think J-Rod went a little bit overboard and burned himself out for the next round.
Yeah.
As he lost to Guerrero, but he put on a good showing for his hometown team, and it was entertaining, and that's the whole point of the Derby.
That's it. That's the whole point. In our our semifinal matchups were Luis Roberts versus Randy Rosarina. That was a pretty impressive round for Rosarina. He just demolished everything he saw. 35 home runs at the end of it. He had some moon shots towards the end as well. I was a little disappointed of Luis and his performance overall in the home run derby. I really thought he had a chance to kind of take this whole thing, but better man won. Rosarina moved on to the finals. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Robert showed his raw power in the first round, and it was quite disappointing to see him do so poorly in the second round. I think this was around the time where the pitching kind of wasn't as good because he kept on getting up and in or in most pitches. And then they're throwing like change ups and sinkers and stuff. I think half the battle is the coach or person you choose to pitch to you.
I agree. That's why Julio had such a amazing first round. Like everything he was throwing was right where Julio needed it. up and in, up and in, up and in, every single pitch. And they had a streak there where it was just like 10 in a row, 11 in a row, 12 in a row. It was just amazing. So you're definitely onto something. I think the whoever throws to you really dictates how that round can turn out, especially if you can pace yourself in the right way. You know, the home run derby is a marathon. It's not a sprint. But Randy moves on to the next round. So it was Randy in the finals. So now he's waiting to figure out who he's in the he was going to hit against, whether it's going to be Vladdy or Julio Rodriguez. After the first round, I had Julio the whole way. I didn't think anyone was going to slow the kid down. But he kind of, just like you said, ran out of gas that last round. Vladdy, all he needed to do was in that last 30 seconds to hit one more. He did it. Congratulations to the guy. What you think? What do you thought about that round?
I mean, it's really about who has the most raw power and whoever takes the least effort to get a home run and who's not hitting it as high so they can fit in more. Now, I don't know how much they really stick to the rules of letting the ball land. I think it might actually be once it gets past the fence, because then it's out of play. But, you know, it's just rapid fire, and it's whoever can just swat them out back and forth, like Judge. That's why Judge did so well, because that's just like easy BP for him to get out of it, and he can hit it both ways.
Yeah.
And if you look at a guy like Mookie, he's got to pull it all the way down the line and give his A swing to get it out of there. Vlad Guerrero or like Judge can just break a bat or just barely get it and it'll go out. So
yeah, I agree. Vladdy wins it 21-20. He moves on, and we have our last matchup, the finals. At this point, I was expecting a complete slugfest. You know, Randy was displaying some serious power. Vladdy, he's been here before. He knows what it takes to win. You know, it's his first title, but you know, this is what, his second or third home run derby, so he kind of understands what it takes to get to this point. I was expecting, you know, a real slugfest. It was close, but Vladdy being the last one, he knew what he had to do, and Vlad took it 25-23. What do you thought about that last round, Randy Arozarena versus Vladdy?
I mean, at least the Blue Jays are going to win something this year.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
But I mean, if you look at all the rounds, the overall number of home runs goes down. Just I think you got to put out a good showing at the first round and then just kind of keep it up. But he was able to go last.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Arozarena was going to do a lot better because he went before Luis Robert in the round before that. And then he was waiting. So he had all that break, and I think Guerrero almost went like back to back. So surprised he won, but he was probably the best home run hitter out of the group there.
Yeah, I think so. It was him or Pete Alonso or Luis Roberts, like the pure hitters. Those were my picks. But you know, Vladdy did it. He won his first, and you know what? Hats off to him. He deserved it. All-Star game next day. What was that? Tuesday. Garrett Cole got his wish. He wanted to start the All-Star game. He went 1 inning, no hits, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. It was funny. There was a few memes out there. He you know, a couple balls were hit hard, and then you had Arozarena and you had Garcia both make some amazing catches, and he puts his arms up like, if I only had outfielders that can catch. So what was your thoughts?
Yeah, right.
You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yankees get a left fielder who can play some defense. Maybe he'll pitch a little better. We'll talk about that as we get going. I don't know if you saw recently, the MLB might implement like an old timers home run derby.
That'd be cool.
A couple of guys that were interested was Griffey, Pujols, Ortiz, and Tomei so far.
Ooh.
Who do you got out of those 4 guys? I mean, a couple of them, like Pujols just retired.
Man, I to be honest with you, you can't go against Griffey or David Ortiz just when it comes to pure just nastiness. You know, Pujols is no disrespect to Pujols. He's one of the greats, and I think he can put anybody up for their money. But I would go Griffey if I had to put money on anybody.
Yeah, he was taking some BP during the World Baseball Classic. Swing's still there. I'd just be worried about these guys like throwing out the back or something.
Yeah, he gets a certain age. But Pujols probably has it on everybody. He's only 1 year removed. So his
And he did the
body.
Derby last year.
Yeah. That was an honorary thing. But he's probably the most in shape out of everybody. It would probably take Big Poppy and Griffey to a couple, like a good year to get like ready and get into a situation where they can do multiple rounds of BP.
What do you think about last year? They had Pujols kind of like the honorary, like all-star, kind of gave him a little recognition. They did absolutely nothing for Miguel Cabrera, who is parallel to Pujols in his career. And
Just as good, yep.
maybe, yeah, and they just didn't do anything. I get he's not playing well, but just a little all-star game doesn't really mean anything.
I thought it was disappointing. Miggy should have been there. Then again, there was a lot more players this year, quote unquote, elected as all-star players. 70. What was this? I think it finished at 79. So maybe that's
everybody's injured.
Yeah, everyone's hurt. So maybe that could be a cause of that. Like they don't want to put any more guys as that quote unquote all-star. But I thought it was disappointing. Miguel Cabrera has had an amazing career. He's a future Hall of Famer. It sucks that he's hasn't won much, but he just like I guess Pujols, he has those few rings. He had those runs with St. Louis Cardinals. But hey, he should have been an honorary all-star. So just so he could say goodbye to the fans. The fans deserve to see him, wave his cap one last time on that big stage.
Yeah, I mean, Miggy broke in 2003 with the Marlins at age 20, and he got his title right then, but not much winning since, except for those couple of good years in Detroit.
They made a couple runs, but majority of his career, it's been on bad teams, which is unfortunate,
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
The NL finally, after 9 consecutive losses, they finally get a victory. The All-Star game is, it's sad to say, it's kind of meaningless now that it doesn't tie to World Series, who has the home field advantage. But it's kind of cool. The NL finally dethrones the AL. The AL has been king for so long, which is so many hitters, so many great hitters. What is your thoughts on the game overall? It was low scoring. It kind of got boring after a while, but the last couple innings kind of picked up. What do you thought?
Yeah, I kind of missed the first couple innings. I was at work, but it was an interesting game. I was really surprised when Felix Bautista gave up that home run. He's been lights out all year. When he pitches against the Yankees, he's bringing 102 up top and then breaking off a splitter that drops about 3 feet out of the zone. So Elias Diaz got lucky, man.
Yeah, he got a pitch to hit, didn't miss it, but it's good for him. Good for him. First Rocky to win a All-Star MVP. So congrats to him. Sucks that we're gonna talk so much about Colorado, but he did his thing, and he deserves it. That ties right into our start of our second half. We started in Colorado, 3-game set on the road. Now this is a hitter's ballpark. Every starting pitcher in the Rockies rotation has like a 6+ ERA. The ballpark plays. He hit the most home runs there. The elevation or whatever you want to call it. What were you expecting? What we did aside, what were you expecting to go into Colorado and do as a team?
Yeah, you got to win the series. I expected a lot of runs. 15 runs in 3 games. It's not bad. It's a lot better than they have been doing. But you gotta win the games you're supposed to win.
I agree. You have to win these games. You had 3 against the Rockies to start. Then you have 3 with Kansas City. Anaheim and then Kansas City. So going into this, you're thinking, all right, we got these 10 games. We should go minimum 7-3. We didn't start off with our best foot forward. Carlos Rodon started game 1. He was on the bump. We took that loss 7-2. Carlos Rodon's line was 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks, and he gave up a home run. With the first couple innings aside, what did you think about Carlos Rodon's outing? Because a lot of people are freaking flipping the F out on Twitter after his performance on Friday.
Of course they're freaking out, but I have my faith in Rodon. The biggest thing is the velocity is there. The slider was sharp at times. He's just a little off with mechanics and the timing. Ball's kind of heading all over the place. I think there was a couple of wild pitches, but I'm not too concerned. He's pitching including rehab, maybe his 5th or 6th game this whole year.
Yeah.
This is like the end of spring training. He'll figure it out. He's got the stuff. He's got that bulldog mentality. I'm not worried. People got to stop with the knee-jerk reactions.
I wholeheartedly agree. If you really take the 2 out from earlier, because it was too much. It's a big gap in between it. It was like 3 months. So don't even talk about the 2 starts he made in spring training. This is technically his 2nd start of the season, and if you include the 3 in the minors plus this one, this is a week before he goes into. They're thinking about going up north in April. So results to me don't matter. Yes, these are must-win games, so you do want Carlos to perform well, and I think he did. He was searching for his slider. A lot of people have struggled with breaking pitches up in Colorado. The air is thin. Ball doesn't react the way that you normally do when you're closer to sea level. It happens, but the last couple innings, that 4th and 5th, he looked really strong. I almost wanted to see him come out for the 6th, just for one batter, just to see if he can keep that intensity up. Of course, the buffoon Boone didn't allow that because they have to protect our pitchers. But bullpen didn't help us either. They didn't come in and slam the door and give us an opportunity to put this game in front of us and put us in position to win. Do you want to go through the game logs and the box scores, or you just want to talk about them? Tell me what you think.
We'll just talk about it. We don't have to. It's nothing good to talk about.
Nothing good to talk about. Yeah, comparison of the 2 teams, man. That first game, really what set us apart was the fact that the Rockies hit 3 home runs, and we only had that 1 from Stanton. That was all of our scoring.
That was the first inning.
Yep.
And then I don't remember who was pitching, but he had a 7 ERA. It's like, you want to win a Cy Young, pitch against the Yankees.
Wow. Oh, it's
Super
so true.
Optimistic today.
Yeah, now it's very true though. Every pitcher that you're like, okay, this guy has a 6 ERA, a 5 ERA. The Yankees usually beat up on really bad pitching, and then they struggle against good pitching. Every team does that, right? Cool. There's no rocket science there. But you going into the series and you're expecting, all right, a lot of runs. These guys are gonna blow them out. We can make some mistakes. We can, Sean Casey could start, tweaking things here and there, and immediately, you saw it with Stanton, that big shot. You're like, okay, maybe we can get something going, and we couldn't put together any hits. We left 6 guys on base that whole game. Not many hits. It was sad, and it lackluster performance overall by the offense.
I mean, even after that first game, as a positive note, I think if you put Gleyber Torres in Coors Field for a whole season, he'd win an MVP eventually. I think that's the perfect ballpark for him. He doesn't have to try too hard to hit it out.
Yeah.
And he'd hit probably 50 doubles. And same thing with LeMahieu. LeMahieu looked good back at home. I'm not sure how he did yesterday. I think it wasn't as good, but first 2 games he was taking some good swings.
Yeah, I think he was 1 for 4 yesterday. But yeah, Torres got 3 hits in that first game. So did LeMahieu, went 2 for 4. No one really hit. That was really it. Riz got a base hit, but he's struggling. The offense was really not there. There's a lot to look forward to with some individual guys like starting to heat up, and then you have other guys cooling off again. Anthony Volpe is now non-existent. In the last few games when he was starting to get hot again. Higgy kind of was hot to go into the break as well, and he's slowed down. So every little step that we did take prior to the All-Star game, we were taking another step backwards because yes, some guys are getting hot, but other guys are getting cold. It's like I feel like this season we can never get a like 3 or 4 or 5 guys at one time all hot, which is frustrating. Most teams can do that at least 2, 3, or 4 times a season. For us,
It's the same old story.
Same old.
It's like the Yankees are playing the bad teams now. The Rays got this right at the beginning of the year. When they started off like 16-0.
Yep.
Against like the Nationals, Oakland, Detroit. The Yankees haven't gone on their big winning streak this year. And I don't know if they have. It's not even like the players they have. I mean, it is. But it's just like fundamentally. The base running mistakes, the unproductive outs, and the sloppy defense.
Yeah.
And you just shore up those things and the team would be like 25% better at least.
Timely hitting, because we're leaving too many guys on base overall. Like we'll get into like yesterday's game, but it just frustrated me. Like Anthony Rizzo leaving the bases loaded, and all right, let's just jump into game 2 before we get too much in front of us, too ahead of us. Clark Schmidt was on the bump for game 2. We win 6-3. Smith's line was 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 8 Ks, allowed a home run as well. Smith is looking great. It's one of those situations where, beginning of the season, we were calling for this kid's head. Send him to AAA, trade him, send him down to AA. Smith is a decent number 4, number 5 starting pitcher. I think he's finally figured out his pitch mix. What's your thought about Clark Smith's young season so far?
He's been the number 2 since probably May. Now, I'm a big fan of not selling nor buying. And I really like what Cashman did last year with Jordan Montgomery. So I think there may be an opportunity to sell high and get a bat you need, because I think the pitching will round out between Cole, Rodon. Maybe Severino will figure it out. He may need a little bullpen hiatus. But then you got Nestor coming back. Still got Herman. Luis Gil eventually. And maybe some contributions from Montas. As well as Vasquez, Brito. And then Will Warren and Clayton Beeter on the waiting. I think I just named 11 pitchers, 11 starters. And so you kind of got to redistribute the wealth. And Cashman's got to get really creative in order to actually make upgrades that are going to make a difference, because there's log jams all around.
Too many, especially on the offensive side. Now, like you said something interesting. The buying and selling this season. If the Yankees continue to fall out of it, I really wouldn't want them to sell or trade away like the Dominguezes of the world, Perazzas, the Wells, just to try to improve the season. I would rather that we just sell some of our major league talent that may be clogging up spots for these young guys and start preparing for 24. I've never been the type to sit there and give up on a season and say, all right, maybe this is not our year. But our veterans are underperforming tremendously, and I don't think a mid-season switch up like Dylan Lawson bringing in Casey is gonna really ignite the team. Not immediately. Maybe we'll see some signs of it come September, but it might be too far gone. Even if we squeeze in to the last wildcard spot, do you honestly really think this team is gonna do anything in October to sell off some of our youth to bring in some more talent? I'm inclined to say that we should really focus on moving our major league, guys off the 26 to make room for some of our AAA, AA guys. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I I don't think the team would be any less competitive if they took a chance on like a Pereira or Florial or Peraza, for instance, or even Austin Wells. And we'll get into the whole catching dilemma when we get down to the trade rumors. Big, apparently the Yankees are looking to upgrade the catching position.
Which they should. Told you last episode, we got to do something with Higgy.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Let's wrap up this last game. Garrett Cole was on the bump, and another 10K plus performance for him. They brought him back for the top of the seventh, leadoff home run, and then pulled him out. And then my boy, Tommy Kahnle came in?
Yeah.
Tommy Kahnle, I love him no matter what. He let a couple guys on, got out of hand, and then Mr. Holmes gave up a grand slam.
See, this is where Boone kills me, right? Tommy Kahnle, he is the type of guy that he can walk a few guys. You know, his changeup and his off-speed pitches, it moves. He's real similar to Clay in that sense, where you know the sinker can move a little bit too much, and he can be unproductively wild. And I don't think Clay was the move right there. You know, I think if you're gonna give up those 3 runs or those 4 runs anyway, I would rather Tommy Kahnle try to get out of that. Clay, yes, he's been good at mop-up situations, but you know, his track record shows that he buckles a little bit more than he should in those tough situations. And I'm really concerned about this bullpen. You know, Mike Francesa said it before the All-Star break, and I normally don't listen to him. You know, the old man's getting a little cuckoo, but every once in a while he throws a nugget out there, and I think he's right. I don't think this Yankees bullpen is as good as we think it is. I think there's still holes, and we're starting to see it now that you know they're putting the weight on their shoulders, saying, okay, the offense is not hitting. Our starting pitching has been good, but it's now fully our responsibility to keep us in the game. What is your thoughts on that? I'm worried.
Yeah, the bullpen has been pitching a lot of innings. I mean, every deadline, Cashman seems to get a reliever or two. So I think reinforcements aren't coming. Do you know how many outs there were when Clay Holmes came in?
None.
There was no outs?
I believe there was no outs.
Bases loaded?
He bases loaded, no outs. I'll double check that while you give your take. Give me 1 second.
So obviously I think Boone's bringing him in to try to get the double play with the heavy sinker. But you do think about the strikeout appeal of Tommy Kahnle. Maybe somebody rolls over a changeup. And maybe his stuff just isn't playing up at Colorado, though he did play there before. But his stuff could have been a little flat. And, you know, sometimes there's productive wild, but sometimes there's not knowing it's going. So there's a fine line in between, and I don't think Boone knows how to decipher that. So we got the Yankees in last place. 2 games out of the wild card. What's coming next? What's going to happen? What can turn this year around? Because it's only 2 games, but from the way they're playing, I really don't care about what it says on paper. You can see that this team is kind of incompetent, and there's certain things that winning teams do that this team does not. What do you think about that?
I mean, you know, they do a couple things well. You know, they pitching is good. You know, I saw some crazy people on Twitter talking about, you know, we should fire our pitching coach, you know, just because of his last few games in the bullpen. It's like, you know, they're going to go through stretches where they're not going to be great. Just see, MLB season is it's too long to have a bullpen or a pitching staff or starting rotation that can just dominate the whole way through. It's a roller coaster. You're going to go ups and downs, the ebbs of flow, just like Aaron Boone likes to say all the time. It's just the ebbs are not flowing when it comes to other parts of this team. I feel like there's honestly something wrong with the chemistry, and I've been saying this, and I heard other content creators say this for a while, and it's really starting to get to me. I really think there's something going on in the clubhouse. This team peaked in 2017, and I feel like ever since then, ever since Boone come aboard, ever since Girardi left, this team doesn't seem tight. There's no, they smiling, high fiving in the dugout, but when you see the Yankees team and when someone makes a mistake and they're like immediately like, I'm gonna pick this up. We're gonna score this, like that confidence. Like, don't worry about it. We're gonna win this game. I don't feel that with this team, no matter what situation. It could be up 10 nothing. Gleyber Torres makes a booted play, and now they score a few runs. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah, it's like less of a brotherhood now. You worry about if they were going to get in a brawl, if everybody has each other's back. Maybe a brawl is what would break them out. I don't know. The Yankees still have a good fighting chance with the big guys, but hopefully nobody steps on Judge's toe. But yeah, you want a good team that's gonna stick up for each other, and every little thing that goes wrong, it seems like it brings the team down, brings the fans down, and everybody's on Twitter wanting everybody to get fired, like it's George Steinbrenner's Billy Martin ran Yankees. But we'll talk about the trade deadline coming up here.
Yes. So no, you good. We can move right on into that. The Yankees folded last place to 2 games back of the wild card. It ties into the next hot topics of just like trade deadline. I know you wanted to address the Ohtani trades directly, so floor is your brother. Let's go.
Shohei Ohtani. What is going to happen with the worldwide superstar? So I think there may actually be a possibility that he gets traded. It really depends if the Angels get back into the race after playing the Yankees. They'll probably sweep and be right in a postseason spot. But if Ohtani is traded, there's a couple of teams that would be on his radar. I think the top 5 teams would be Tampa Bay Rays, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I think is who ultimately signs him. You got Seattle Mariners, the Texas Rangers, and then never count out the Atlanta Braves. I think if Ohtani were to get traded to the Rays, it makes them instant World Series favorites. And he would fit really well into that lineup. I'm not sure who gets most of their DH at bats, but the rest of that lineup is built in a way that can adapt around him with a nice mix of lefties and righties. And to add that MVP bat and a much above average starter to that team would address 2 needs. They have the prospect capital, and it would probably just be a traditional rental. Unless the Rays pull like a Wander Franco thing again, where out of nowhere they sign this huge contract, which they haven't ever done before. But Ohtani on the Rays would more likely than not make them the World Series champion for the first time. And that would probably bring so much money and fan down to Tampa that they wouldn't have to worry about moving. And maybe he does so well that they raise enough money to build a new stadium in actual Tampa, not St. Pete. We'll see what happens. There's about 2 weeks left until the trade deadline. A lot can change, but the Rays may make this surprise move and trade for Ohtani, and then it's a Rays against everybody else because Ohtani would bring such a dynamic pitcher and hitter to that team, and it would really not be fair. Yankees would have no chance at the division, and then they'd get steamrolled if they made the playoffs.
I'm in agreement with you. Otani to Tampa scares the hell out of me. I think I've said it on Hector's show. Shout out to Hector, the Morning Brew crew. If that were to happen, it's a wrap. Like there's even reports of possibly Baltimore going after a Shohei if he becomes available, just because they're just a need. There's just a need of like that one or two more like starting pitcher, like that real solid ace or number two to really kind of compete, and that would be crazy too. They have the prospect depth to do it, and their owner has money. Like they have money to spend. He's one of the richest guys in America, and he's been quietly just waiting for the right guy to spend some money. And he tried this offseason, and guys just said no to their offers. But Baltimore is another sleeper. You have a lot of teams that can potentially just sneak in and scoop up Otani, and it could be interesting. Comes August, September, you never know.
Man, if they trade for him and just like gave him the blank check and said like 20 years, like 800 mil,
Yeah,
and that window for winning would be open for the next 10, 12 years,
maybe more. They keep having guys come up that
They-
perform.
They're exciting.
Yeah,
That's what baseball's about. And the Yankees don't know how to manage prospects. And if there was a big fish to sign, like Otani, they already have all these other guys blocking him that take up that spot. But for a team like the Rays or the Orioles, with such a low payroll, it wouldn't be an issue to give Otani 60 mil, something like that, crazy. And they'd still be like 18th in payroll, but they'd be a lot better. And they'd win a lot of ball games because Otani's a great player, but he won't win with the Angels for some reason.
no, the team they just can't build a team around him. Like for the reports that I've read and I've heard, it's strictly a rental for Tampa. They do not expect to sign him long term. They don't have that financial flexibility to pay a guy $40 million, a single person $40 million. So what makes it interesting is like Baltimore, because Baltimore can trade for him and potentially retain him if they can make it attractive to him. Playing in Baltimore, potentially winning a World Series or having a really nice run, and that stadium rocking, because they have great fans too. Like don't sugarcoat those Baltimore fans. They come out and they show and support. So who knows? We'll table this when we start to hear that Shohei might be available. But there's a lot of good teams that are going to be in the mix for him, and they can instantly make them a contender. And it could be interesting very quickly. We are only 2 weeks away from the deadline, so it's approaching quickly. Talking about trades, there's multiple reports out there. The owner of the Cardinals said it himself, or the GM, sorry. They are open for business. They are entertaining trading pieces. What those pieces will be remains to be seen. Tyler, I'm gonna ask you, who, if we were to trade with St. Louis, because we're already a good trade partner with them, who on that roster do you think would be great pieces, not only for this year to help us potentially get over the hump and get into a playoff spot, but 2024?
Well, if anybody's on Twitter, you'll see everybody talking about Newt Barr, who became so popular after the World Baseball Classic. Hashtag Team Japan. And then, of course, there's Arenado. Now, I don't think either of those guys are going to get traded to the Yankees. The first name that comes in mind that any other year the Yankees would trade for him right away would be Tyler O'Neill, probably. But the Yankees don't need another right-handed outfielder or any other position for that matter. I think Newt Barr has a ton of value just because he has so many years of control. But I don't really know if the Yankees and Cardinals match up for a deal. Some guys have been calling for Jordan Montgomery to come back, which wouldn't be a bad thing. It just kind of wouldn't really make sense. I don't know if the Cardinals and the Yankees really match up for a trade very well. Maybe a Dylan Carlson. Maybe Tommy Edman if you want to put him in the outfield. But the Yankees have a really odd roster. There's a lot of trades to be made that would help them, but there's no space for those players to be used unless you move some guys off the active roster. So Cashman, if he really wants to get creative, is going to have to make a couple of trades.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing the catcher and starting pitching and relief pitcher sort of thing, I was like, watch this guy go out and get like Elias Diaz, Randall Grichuk, and like Daniel Bard from the Rockies and be like, I got all three things. What else do you want? But I don't know. I'd watch for him to do something that none of us have on our radar, which could be a good or bad thing.
Depends. Sometimes he's good.
It depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good. Like Montgomery and Bader could have been great if they were able to. I was on Rodon that whole time. I was like, they got to get Rodon. Like, can't just get rid of Montgomery and have, I think it was either Clark Schmidt or Domingo at the time fill in.
Yeah.
But, some guys got to step up. And obviously the guys they have on the roster, I mean, they're winning. They're above 500. But winning a couple of regular season games is not going to propel you through October.
Yeah. I'm with you. I see, like, if I was going to choose anybody on the Cardinals, it would be like the Brandon Donovans or the Lars Nootbaar, just because of controllability. Donovan, his versatility, he can play the infield, he can play the outfield. He can hit, he has a 300 average, he fills a lot of needs for this team. He also bats lefty. But I do see Brian Cashman doing something so egregious that he would do a Nolan Arenado trade and then, try to mirror it with a DJ LeMahieu trade, or a Josh Donaldson DFA, and like try to, because he doesn't like to give up on seasons, which I totally agree. And he can see it as, third base is one of those situations where we can use some more production. We already have a righty there, and you're going to have a righty there regardless, whether that's Peraza, whether that's DJ LeMahieu, or whether that's Josh Donaldson. So we might as well have a righty that can hit. And I'll take a righty that can hit than a lefty that can't hit any day of the week. So, maybe he thinks about replacing that production that way. And, you have Arenado for a little longer than you would probably want. But if you can, potentially put some prospects in that package where you can say, okay, pay all of 2023 or the rest of 2023 for Arenado for us. And then we can worry about 24, 25, or 26 down the road, and instantly increase our, our third base production, some power, some consistent hitting. Would I be for it? Depends. If this team can start turning it around, come late July, we have Baltimore and Tampa to end the month. If we're in a position where on the 30th there, we swept the Orioles, we're in position to sweep the Rays, and we have made up some ground that we've lost the last few days, I'm all for it. But if we're completely out of it, we lost 2 out of 3 out of Baltimore. We're probably going to lose 2 out of 3 at Tampa. I wouldn't go ahead and spend the prospect capital to potentially bring over Arenado or a Brendan Donovan or Lars Nootbaar. I would just stay pat, and start to promote within, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sweeping the Orioles and the Rays. Nice dreams. But looking at the Cardinals roster right now, it's crazy to me that Jordan Montgomery is the ace at this point, followed by Jack Flaherty, Miles, Mikolas. Wainwright's on the IL but hasn't been good at all when he's healthy, and Steven Matz. I do think The Yankees may like Jordan Hicks. He might become available. They still have Giovanni Gallegos. He could come back. He was part of that Luke Voigt deal. And looking here, they have Wilson Contreras. I think he's kind of been sort of a head case behind the plate and on offense this year, but still probably an offensive upgrade over what the Yankees have. I don't know why they're so interested in upgrading at catcher when they have Wortvet and Wells in the minors.
Exactly.
But still talking about the Cardinals, it's like they keep on producing the same guy. Like, I don't know the difference between Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Tommy Edman, and who else is on here? Alex Burleson and Nolan Gorman. Like, those are all the same guy to me. Except for a couple of them are just lefties, but the rest of them are switch hitters. It's like they have like a specific type of player they get, and they usually are able to play all over the place. But yeah, I don't know. Tyler O'Neill's still on the 60-day IL. He has 2 home runs this year. And what's the injury? He's a back injury. Could come off the injured list next week. And that was 3 days ago. So, I don't know, but I don't think he is he's like Harrison Bader with more power. I don't know if that's what the Yankees really need right now.
Now, we need someone that can catch the ball, potentially walk into one, and just can hit consistently. We just need, a couple, 2 or 3 more, sprinkle in 280 hitters, 270 hitters, 290, maybe give me a couple 300 guys. If we can get what IKF was doing last year for us, hitting high 290s, I don't even care if it's a Spray and Judy type guy. Like that type of production right now in the right spot in the lineup can, help produce some runs and get us going. Hitting is contagious. And to touch on your point that you made, a lot of these guys are like similar. That's just where the game is going now, where guys are just, versatile. Like, you have to, in order to crack the major leagues nowadays, you have to be able to play 3 or 4 positions, right? You have to be able to play all 3 outfield positions and potentially either play first or play third in the infield so that you can get any type of playing time in the majors. So, a lot of teams are going towards that mindset. And, it's worked for Cincinnati. It's worked for the most part for the Cardinals. But, this is why they also have all this they have all these guys, and now they can move and not miss a beat and try to build for 2024. So we're getting close to that time, Tyler. I don't want to keep you too long, so let's go to our last couple topics before we wrap up the show. Do you think the New York Yankees are going through a collapse? Like, do you think Aaron Boone is on the hot seat?
It's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about this yet, but eventually there's going to be a scapegoat if they do continue to collapse. And I don't know if it's the manager. If you throw any other manager in there with this roster, he might do a little bit better. The only thing that maybe he could improve at is like rallying the troops, maybe like getting them fired up. I know Boone's that clubhouse guy, but I don't know if he really holds them accountable and like really lights a fire under them if they need it. Are they going through a collapse? I mean, it's not like a random thing that's just happening. The signs have been there for not even just this year. It's just from the ground up, the way the team's built. It's not anything new. It's same old themes, and people act like it's something that just happened overnight. It's like the Yankees are like falling from the sky, and they're really not. They're above 500. If Cashman, if he does a regular old trade that he usually does, it may not bring him to the promised land. But if he gets a little creative and comes up with something that we're not thinking about, and really, at this point, it's really about the offense. I mean, I would like better defense. I would like Volpe at second base and Peraza at shortstop, a real third baseman, and a real left fielder. And then But I'm really worried about Rizzo as well. Rizzo hasn't had a home run in like a couple months, ever since Tatis like bumped into his head after he started out really well. I'm worried about Rizzo. He's becoming kind of like a negative spot there in the lineup, batting right in the middle. And it's like as soon as one guy gets hot, another guy cools off, like you were saying before. So maybe get Judge and Nestor back, bring in some reinforcements, cut some dead weight off the roster, make some logical call-ups that should have happened a long time ago. And maybe you put a good product on the field that can sneak into a first or second wild card spot. And then in a short series with Cole, Rodon, and maybe a hired gun, you stand a chance. And we'll see. But it's funny. I was just looking at tonight's probables. You got Luis Severino. It's like a 7.35 ERA. And we're talking about the Orioles always calling up their top prospects. And you got Grayson Rodriguez with like a 7.38. So I guess Severino could be worse. So what do you got, Gio?
Yeah, Severi can always be worse, you know. But to touch on the collapse, like you brought up a few great points, and this is the reason why I think the Yankees are in a collapse. You know, DJ fell off the face of the earth. You know, you got Rizzo falling off. You know, you have guys like even Anthony Volpe started off so hot. Granted, he's a rookie, but he's been so inconsistent that you start to wonder if this team is going to be able to right itself. And Boone, 100%, I feel like is on the hot seat. Ever since he's taken over the helm, these guys cannot make any way forward in this team. You know, the best we've done in the last 6 years is go one game away from a World Series, and that was under Girardi. Ever since then, we've gotten further and further and further away from the end goal, and it's always Boone making really bad decisions when it comes to this pitching staff. Even when the offense is not really doing that much, he's making really bad bullpen decisions, pulling starters when they don't need to be pulled, or leaving guys in too long. Like, I get it, you're going to ride with your horses and stuff like that, but there is a fine line between being able to manage a bullpen, manage a starting rotation, and being able to maximize the most out of your team. This team is flat. This team is dead. And, you know, there's a lot of red signs that happened last, postseason. Harrison Bader not knowing he's leading off. Severino over here complaining that the roof is open. You know, you got guys talking about exit velo, you know, versus talking about executing better pitches. There's been a lot of excuses under Aaron Boone, and I've never heard the Yankees make excuses. You know, you hear what the John Carlos and the Aaron Judges, you know, when they have press conferences, I need to do better, we need to do better. But you don't hear that from Aaron Boone. You don't hear that from certain guys underneath him and under his tutelage. And to be honest, I think it is time for a change in the managerial and frankly the GM. But you know, Brian Cashman's never going to go nowhere. But 100%, we do need a new manager. He's not getting the most out of this team, and it's unfortunate because I feel like there's a lot of talent in this room, and I don't know if Aaron Boone is the right guy to unlock it, if that makes sense.
You very well could be right. As Joe Girardi would say, it's not what you want.
Nope.
But
That's what we got.
all Boone is he's a puppet. Cashman is running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And Boone does what he wants, and so his job is safe for now until Cashman is ready to put the blame on somebody else once again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's time for change up there, but I'm not totally on the fire Boone bandwagon or the fire Cashman bandwagon, but I mean, I liked the trade with the A's last year. I didn't think it was bad. I was excited for Trevino. Montas. And was there another guy? I don't know. But
Zach
he makes some good trades, but not all of them are good. And you see these other teams, they switch it up every so often. They got new brains in there, not since like 1902. And they're successful. So I don't know who would be up next. Everybody's like, Cashman would get picked up right away, and we'd miss him.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he has a lot of experience. He's won championships. But to be honest with you, this is not the organization for him to run any longer. Maybe he needs to go to a smaller market where these small bargain bin pickups would work. But when you miss on Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Corey Seager, Carlos Correa twice, to me, I call in question what it is that what do you value as a GM. You say that we need to get younger and more athletic, and then you trade a younger Gio Shella for an older Josh Donaldson. He contradicts himself all the time. We need contact. That's why we got Andrew Benintendi. Okay, why is Andrew Benintendi a White Sox and not a Yankee? We traded the prospect capital. He's incompetent. There's nothing that anyone can tell me that can explain that Brian Cashman is a competent GM. I feel like he's asleep at the helm sometimes, and this team looks leadership starts from the top down. This team looks exactly how Brian Cashman operates his organization. They're slow, they're lazy, they're nonchalant, they're lackadaisical. I can use as many adjectives as I can come up with, and I don't think I'll be able to touch upon how much I do not think Brian Cashman should be running this organization no more. But I'm gonna digress, and let's get into this last topic. You already mentioned it. Sevy's on the bump for tonight. There's reports out there that they think Severino has been tipping his pitches. Is not injury. He's tipping his pitches, so he's going to be pitching the entirety of this game from the stretch. What are your predictions for tonight?
Interesting. Well, I think tonight's going to be one of those nights where be drinking a little bit of stuff before the game just to prepare. I have my hope up for Severino. I'm more concerned about the stuff than the outcome. And you bring up tipping pitches, which very well could be true. And if they figure that out, then that's good for them. And hopefully he improves. Predictions? Who the Angels got pitching? Angels. Who they got?
I think you just had it up. That one of their. Hold on.
Who we got? Griffin Canning, 4.62. Last 3 appearances, 5.52. So we'll lock him in for 7 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, 2 runs. I think the Yankees actually pulled this one out.
Okay.
I don't know who the Angels got hitting in their lineup right now. I know they don't have Mike Trout.
Yeah, he's gone till at least September.
Oof.
Yeah, because it's the hand make bone. Same thing that happened with Andrew Benintendi. But granted, Trout got it like a month or 2 before him, so probably end of August, September, we'll see Trout back.
The Angels got Mickey Moniak batting 3rd yesterday. Taylor Ward batting 4th, who's had a huge down year. Mike Moustakas, Matt Thaiss, Hunter Renfroe, Trey Cabbage, Andrew Corned Beef. I'm just kidding. Luis Rengifo. Offense is not looking too great. Pitching's not looking too great. Here's my prediction. If the Yankees start Oswald Peraza, they win. If they don't, they lose. There you go. How do you like that?
I like it. I like that. So Boone he's already come out and said that Peraza is going to get touches, but DJ is the starting third baseman. Frustrates me.
God.
Frustrates me. The kid needs to be an everyday starter. I don't know what's going on with this organization. Don't call him up if you're not going to play him every day. Like, you just leave him in
Trade
AAA.
Glaber.
Yeah, let him
Trade
take
Glaber
over.
or DJ.
Which this is where I'm thinking that we might be getting that way, but I don't want to go back into trades. We could discuss more of that next week as we get closer to a wild card spot or further away from a wild card spot. That's where a lot of these conversations could get really interesting. But to wrap it up, I'm thinking it's going to be a pitching duel tonight. Severino is going to go ahead and pitch really well tonight, probably give up 2 runs or less. And then Griffin, he's so far he's been good this season. He's been middle of the pack from all his StatCast numbers. Average guys give the Yankees fits, so I anticipate a low scoring affair. No more than 5 runs across both of them. I'm going for the win. Peraza or someone's gonna come off the bench and get us that go ahead run, and we're gonna steal this one 3-2.
I dig it. Don't make me nervous at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nail biter. I have that feeling. It's either gonna be a nail biter or it's gonna be a blowout. One way or the other.
I don't have any nails left.
So we end every show with the game. We call this justify or against. So how this works is I'm gonna give you an Aaron Buffoon decision, and you choose whether you justify it or you're against it and why. I have to argue the opposing viewpoint regardless if I agree or not. So yesterday, Aaron Boone called up Nick Ramirez to pitch in the bottom of the 11th. Nick immediately gives up the lead with a 2-run home run. With Michael King, Ron Marinaccio, you had so many other guys available besides Nick Ramirez, the journeyman. Would you justify the move or are you against the move?
I'm just trying to pull up the box score real quick just to see what happened because I didn't see the end of the game there. But
yeah, he comes in bottom of the 11th, clean slate, ghost runner on second, immediately gives up the 2-run home run.
Yeah, it's a little inauspicious. Let's go in Boone's favor here. You already used Peralta, Canley, Holmes, Hamilton. Hamilton pitched amazing. And then he had Ron after Nick Ramirez, who Ron hasn't been too good either. I'm going to justify Boone because every time they get to the extras, they love to use Albert Abreu. And that's my worst nightmare. Nick Ramirez, before this game, I think he had like a 2-something ERA. It's not bad. He's been pitching well, so... you don't like it after he gives up the home run, but it seems to happen at Coors Field, so... We'll give Boone the benefit of the doubt this time and say that one of the other guys would have given up a home run anyways, because that's just the Yankees' luck.
Yeah, Ron, the Don, Marinaccio didn't do any favors neither. Immediately giving up the game-winning home run right afterwards. So I have to be against it. So this is easy. I would have liked to see Michael King come in that situation. You're going for the win. This is your first time that your team has showed life, has showed fight, has showed that hey, you know what? We got punched a few times and we came back and threw a few punches ourselves. This is the first real true time this season the Yankees actually showed fight. They were down twice in that game, 3 times actually. So you're going to immediately give it up with Nick Ramirez. I'd rather give it up with one of our best pitchers. If we're going to lose that game, I want to lose with my best on the mound, and that's Michael King. He was the best available. He pitched 2 innings. I get it the night before, but this bullpen budget shit got to stop. These games are too fucking important. It's not April no more. It's not May. We are getting into the dog days of August. Every fucking win matters right now. We are last place in our division. We are 2 games out of a wild card. There's teams behind us that are better than us. This is getting scary. Like Seattle's gonna pick it up soon. The Angels, if they can get back Trout, they can be a contender. Toronto is starting to get hot. Baltimore's getting hot. This is not the time to take the gas off the foot pedal. And Aaron Boone, that is a blunder. Michael King should have been out there to close that game and secure that win.
Fair enough.
Everyone, thank you for a great episode, Tyler. Thank you for a great episode. I appreciate you as always.
Thank you, Gio. Had a good time.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're first time here, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out immensely. We are on our way to 100 subs. So, we're trying to get to that 1K as fast as possible. We're going to have a giveaway for 1000K. We're going to give away some Yankee tickets. Hopefully we can get there before the season ends. If not, we are definitely going to get you some tickets for the 2024 season. So everyone, thank you for an amazing show. Tyler, again, thank you. We'll see you next week. Peace.